Hey folks, how's it going? My name is Greg Golden, and I'm from the University of New Mexico in the Dean of Students office. I serve as the Assistant Dean of Students here at UNM. I did my undergrad at the University of New Mexico. As you can see, I went to the University of Nebraska, Lincoln for graduate school. I did my master's in higher education and student affairs with a specialization. Had a great experience there, continued to have a great experience. I actually just made it up to Lincoln, Nebraska not too long ago for a football game. I was only there for a really brief amount of time. But anyway, regardless, I'm grateful to have the opportunity to talk to you guys a little bit about my job and how student development theory comes into play in what I'm doing. So I've got a little cheat sheet just to kind of keep my eyes on the prize and remember why I'm here, so I don't get caught telling stories and things like that. In my job as Assistant Dean of Students, I have a variety of different roles. I focus internally on a lot of different things in our office. I do new student orientation within our team, but the majority of my time is spent doing student conduct. I also do some stuff with the National Student Exchange. So that's a exchange program for domestic students to go to a different American college or university. And then also get to work on our Center for Financial Capability. It's a newer concept, but it's basically a money management center. So the wheelhouse of where theory really makes its most frequent interactions and what I get to do is probably in the student conduct process. Every single interaction I have with students in a conduct moment is a learning moment typically, or at least that's the framework. So this is my hard sell to people that are really interested in theory and want to get an active opportunity to chase it and implore it and then put it into practice. There's so many opportunities in the conduct setting to do that. So for example, we'll get a lot of students that will come in. A lot of the stems of conduct issues are from complex relationships specifically. So I think a lot about like chickering and the 7 vectors specifically. So many interactions specifically come into play with chickering theory. So for example, if I have students that are having a grievance or a student who is having a complex relationship with a faculty member or something like that, we try and talk to the student and help them work through the interaction that they're having and help them to better understand how to have a more mature relationship. Sometimes that comes with an inability to manage their emotions, right? I get students that are angry in the office, students that are befuddled, confused. Sometimes they don't know how to express the emotions that they're feeling, so it kind of comes in the form of a lashing out or handshakes and weird things like that. Some students are better at managing their emotions, but the most interesting, of course, is when students are trying to develop their own sense of like identity. I'll call it like autonomy towards interdependence specifically. So we see that a lot because every student in the conduct process is able to have an advisor that attends the meeting with them when they're facing charges or when we're talking about behavior specifically. So many students choose to bring their parents. Parents are a huge part of our conduct process sometimes, and that's actually not how it's supposed to be. The student needs to have the opportunity to explore how they're feeling about a situation. We don't want to hear from their parents always. So I think it gives them a great challenge because we explicitly in our policy, it states that parents can't speak during a meeting. They can only be there for moral support, basically. So it forces the student to move beyond that threshold of being able to rely on a parent and start to depend on themselves and think about what they actually think. So it's pretty cool. There's lots of ethical development as well in the conduct process. But aside from that, so chickering for sure. I think a huge part of what we do also is self-authorship, where students are trying to examine their readiness for change and starting to write their own story and thinking about what that means for them. But overall, other programs I get to work with that specifically target those things, not just conduct processes, are like our Center for Financial Capability, where students are looking at their money and trying to determine whether they're ready for change in their budget. Or self-authorship when students are going on an exchange program specifically. It's a whole big piece about trying to find purpose. Students go for different reasons to different places, and sometimes they find what they're looking for. Sometimes they don't. But our objective is to try and connect them to their passion in that regard. So Well, I advise a multicultural fraternity on campus. That multicultural fraternity is always grappling with student development, specifically around cultural identity, racial identity, and those things specifically. I think they also grapple with whether they feel like they actually matter on campus versus being marginal. They tend to feel more marginal in comparison with groups that are from predominantly white backgrounds or historically white fraternities and sororities. Not to throw any shade, I'm a member of a historically white fraternity. I was a member of a fraternity, but now getting to explore that with them and thinking about how the system is a little bit different, and it doesn't, because it is such an old system, fraternities and sororities specifically. I tend to think that the environment is changing and students are having to grapple with how to reflect their own identity and to see that where they're going to school. So we try and find ways to help them feel supported. Specifically as their advisor, I try and really bolster their sense of cultural identity and help them to see how that makes them better, unique, and special. So anyway, I hope that wasn't too long. My name is Greg, again, from the University of New Mexico. I'll sign off and say, go Huskers. Hopefully, good luck in your class. See ya.